on your roof, meetings together. You did it. You finished Domain G. I am so excited for you. Super happy. It was a long last two skills, but we made it through. So let's get in and talk about Domain G, our big kahuna. Okay, so skill 18 was mostly about managing the technical production. So we're going to determine our staging requirements and all our technical stuff. So venue consideration. So this is the room capacity charts. Now remember, these capacity charts don't take into account if you need room for staging, for screens, technology. So make sure that when you're looking at those capacity charts that you remember that. But don't worry, right? We know how much square footage per person we need. So we don't really need capacity charts anymore. You also want to make sure you're taking into consideration the ceiling heights, the availability of power, things like that. You really want to get to know your venue. Like, when was it built? What kind of power capabilities does it have? Does it come with fluorescent lighting, non-dimmable lights, things like that? Your audio and your visual. These audio visual is so rapidly changing. So you want to make sure that you're really evaluating it and making sure that everything that you're selecting and picking is going to go along with your goals and objectives. You need to know the difference for audio visual, what a mixer is and when do you need a mixer and an amplifier and an equalizer. So knowing the difference between all those pieces of audiovisual equipment that you need. The lighting, like I said before, is it, a venue that doesn't have dimmable lighting. And then knowing the different types of lighting, like the LECO and the PAR and the Fresnel, and what the difference between all those are. You need to make sure you know all about that. And then the screen and the staging. We'll get more into the screen on the next one. But so for the staging area, adding those drapes and the pipe and drapes, the black velour background. You want to make sure that when you're doing staging that you're also considering the ceiling height. Again, that falls in with the venue considerations. So labor, again, who's going to be all like the project manager and the producer and the technical director, and knowing what each of those roles are. So make sure you remember that. And then transportation and expenses. This is the being specific with the venues and the suppliers. You want to eliminate any surprises. So you want to make sure all of that gets included in your contract and your vendor proposals. So this is what I was talking about for the screen. You want to know these little tips and tricks. So the 8x the screen rule is the projection platform is placed at 90 degrees to the screen. So look at this little 90-degree angle, and this is where the little projector is in the middle. So, and then just below that, the first row should be no closer than twice the height of the screen. So if you have an 8x8 screen, I know math, so twice the height of it is going to be 16 feet. So the first row should be no closer than 16 feet. And then in the middle here, we have the screen should be at least 5 feet off the floor. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little piggies. So 5 feet off the floor is how high the screen should be placed. And then now we've got the back row. So the back row should be no more than 8 times the height of the screen, because you don't want to be back in the nosebleeds and not be able to see what the screen is. So again, taking that 8x8 screen example, if you had an 8x8 screen, the back row, so people sitting in the cheap seats back there, 8 times the height of the screen. So 8 times 8 is 64. So no more than 64 feet is the last row. And then the distance between the projector and the screen should be 1.5 times the width of the screen. Okay, so 1.5, again with the 8x8 screen, you would take 1.5 times 8, and then if you have a 10 by 10 screen, 1.5 times 10. So that is a little bit, you want to know all these and make sure, because you're going to get asked some questions on, how many feet in should your first row be, and and they'll give you the size screen, and you want to make sure you know that. So make sure that you remember those. Okay, so talking about crowd management, crowd mentality. You want to come up with a crowd management plan, and you want to know all the things that go into the crowd management plan. So make sure that is people pushing for the back of the crowd, start pushing, and it ripples through. So soon everybody's pushing. Think of being at a concert, things like that. You want to make sure that you have your crowd management plan, including floor plans. So ingress and egress. In is entrance. So think ingress, and then egress is like exit. So, so you want to make sure that you know all that. And then accommodations by room type. So when you're contracting, make sure that you're clear on what you're blocking. So if you want to make sure that you're listing out the room types, single room, twin, or double room. And then you also, in the contract, want to make sure that you are including the room blocks, cutoff dates, review dates, reservation procedures and policies. Know the difference between what a rooming list is and what individual reservations are. And then combination is exactly how it sounds. You're going to make a rooming list with people for your VIPs, and then individual call-in for all of the regular guests that are coming in, and then or using a housing bureau to handle all of your accommodations. And you also want to know, I don't have a slide for this, but like the difference between a 5-star deluxe property and a conference center and a 3-star hotel, and what type of meeting would you place within each of those types of venues. So make sure that you know that as well. And then coordinating transportation. So this can be through your DMCs, your PCOs. There's the different types of travel, which is air, motor coach, all these shuttle services, mini coaches. Just make sure that that you're offering your guests these. Don't expect them to do it on their own. You want to try, as the event professional, to make it as easy and as safe as possible for your attendees. So when they're traveling to the destination, you also want to consider the meeting budget. And so not every corporate meeting, has the corporation that pays for it. A lot of associations have, where their guests are on their own and having to pay for it. So consider that when you're booking the transportations. And then managing protocols. So this is the higher older women. So you want to start with the higher ranking. So Mr. President, may I present to you Mrs. Tanya Roof, and going then to the oldest, Mrs. Tanya Roof, may I introduce, because it's not as professional, it's not as the protocol's not as strict, I guess. May I introduce my daughter? And then women, it's always women, may I introduce to the men. So, and then the flags, make sure you know, like when you're the away country, their national anthem goes first, and kind of knowing the protocols. Like when 2 or more flags are displayed, they need to be at the equal size, things like that. And then the host nation's flag is up front. And then for the anthem, the visitors' national anthem is played first. And then your invitations, make sure that when you're addressing the invitations that you understand how to do those. So that is it for managing protocols. All right, so let's wrap up G, because I am ready to be done with G. All right, so identifying, acquiring, and installing. So that's basically all of the manage audiovisual and technical production. We talked about the identifying, acquiring, and installing the staging and technical equipment, and knowing the difference between all of those and when you need that. Overseeing technical production and operation, knowing the different roles, things like that. Develop plan for management of moving through the attendees. That was the crowd management. Develop a plan for effective crowd management, coordinating housing requirements and defining policies. That was everything in the contract about the different individual call-in and rooming list, coordinating transportation. That's getting with the DMCs and getting buses scheduled and coordinated, and then follow and establish protocol guidelines. That was the how, the higher, oldest, and then women. So that was it. We are done with G. I'm so ready to be done with G. I hope you guys were too. Okay, so skill 18 and 19 are done. We read chapter 13 in the PMM book and then focused on the last of those glossary terms. Yay. So next week, we are into H. We are on page 3 of 3 for the time block master sheet. So for domain H, we're going to spend 2 weeks in domain H. So let's do for next week, skill 20 and 21. And then we're going to read our PMM book, chapter 6. So over here, skill 20, the video is 40 minutes. Skill 21 is 25 minutes. And then chapter 6 of our PMM book. So that's it, folks. I am so glad we're done with G. Great job for making it all the way through. I'm so proud of you. And let's jump into site, domain H, site management. All right, have a great day. Bye.